Oh.
All right, to be determined. Friday show, episode 3. Adjust the cameras, Maddie. At Sports by Bond. At Travs Matt. I think that's the right side it goes to, but we'll find out.
That's a great question. I do not remember.
It's split screen. I can't remember if it's this way or it's this way. I'm thinking it's this way. Either way. TGIF, Maddie. What's going on?
Friday. Deal with it.
That's it? That's all you got?
I'm here in just a white tee because the hair was looking too good. The bedhead. So I didn't want to mess it up. I did have a shirt in mind. I know we talked about it earlier in the week, but you'll see it plenty for the TBD PGP 11. I was hoping that was going to rhyme with the rest of it. It does not.
It did not. That's all right. We'll see.
And the show itself.
There you go.
And the show itself.
There you go. There it is. A lot happening up and down the thruway in New York, and a lot happening in the sports world. We'll dive right in with the thing that just ended an hour ago, less than an hour ago. Brandon Beane introduced...
like 42 minutes and 14 seconds ago. Just interrupted you
to be
hard.
Precise, just to be precise.
But he's got to power through.
Brandon Beane introduced as the new Bills general manager, and the one note that I had down from here, just like the last GM and head coach, and this head coach before the GM got fired, every decision going to be a collaborative effort. That's the only thing they say. Ever.
Was it the one Buffalo? Is that the motto, the mantra?
Yeah, the mantra.
But what I took away from it is it was in terms of his responses, a pretty cookie-cutter kind of presser, which after Rex, and it was very entertaining as somebody, you were there as well for a lot of those press conferences with him. Yeah. It's very entertaining. It's great sound for us if you're working television, but the results weren't there. So maybe it's okay that him and Sean McDermott are a little bit more cookie-cutter when it comes to that. But sort of along the same lines, a synonym basically for what you just said, my big takeaway is there will be no football czar, because that's really what you've been hearing people describe, maybe not the actual term czar, Sean McDermott as he has all this power, the fact that they want coach before GM, and he's had his hands in so many different things, maybe that a head coach, especially a new one somewhere, doesn't usually have. So football czar, little Zar Zar Banks hit you with 2 within 5 words there. It's kind of like, what was it, proxy? No, privy. Privy with Doug Whaley.
Privy.
So privy with Doug Whaley, czar with Brandon Beane.
No, what you bring up is really the point to this whole press conference. And when I say that it's going to be that collaborative effort, as I've noted here to my left, that's really what it is they're not going to have a czar. Which I think you're just staring at me now. We'll figure that out eventually. That they're not going to have this czar. And I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, ultimately, you're answering to Terry and Kim, but Terry and Kim seem to like to have this team mentality, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The only way to see if this is going to work is to give it time, is to give it a season. Now, the advantage that we have is that these two guys worked together in Carolina for a number of years, developed a relationship enough so that Beane was saying that the two went on runs before games, went on runs during training camp, that Beane's son went over to McDermott's house to learn a couple of nuggets about wrestling. The major story out of this whole thing is that Sean McDermott has a wrestling mat in his house, or had one in Carolina. That is phenomenal stuff, by the way. I love that nugget. If there was ever there should never have been a doubt that Sean McDermott had a wrestling mat in his house. Never.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I don't know if that's been out there previously, that he has a wrestling background, but just looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, where's his cauliflower ears? It's like... I'm surprised. I don't think he has any.
No. I think he's good. Okay. I think he's good.
You checked his ears? Thank you.
Well, it's
hey, all-encompassing, comprehensive. That's what you bring to the table.
Keep your eyes on the prize, Matty. Keep your eyes on the prize. I like the hire. It's funny. There's a lot of fans that said, "Oh, the reports have been a lot tighter. That there haven't been all these leaks. That we didn't see." But I would argue that's the complete opposite. The two guys at the beginning of this whole Sabres and Bills GM search were Jason Botterill and Brandon Beane. And that's the two guys we ended up with. So there are leaks. There's great reporting being done. Stop arguing it. That kills me. Like, let's be done with that. If these are the two best guys and everyone can see it and the sporting world can see it, who cares?
Well, we've been talking about it for at least a week now, like basically just counting down the seconds until those two guys got the respective jobs. Like, yeah, we know it's going to be them.
Right.
I know you have to go through a process and there's Rooney Rule and stuff and other different kinds of things that you have to include just to be good about covering all your bases if you're the Pagulas in terms of these kind of searches. But that's what we thought. That's what it is. That's what we got, these two guys.
Let's jump to the other GM, which was introduced yesterday, Jason Botterill. I watched that this morning. I missed it yesterday, which was bad. And by all accounts, this guy seems like a home run. He comes from winning. He's been a part of the organization before. The last professional team he played for were the Rochester Americans. He's familiar with the area. His roommate in Rochester was Ryan Miller. So this guy gets it. He understands the area. He understands hockey. He understands winning. He was a 3-time, World Junior Champion gold medalist. He's like one of the only ones that have ever done that. He won the Stanley Cup as part of the front office in 2009 with Pittsburgh, then again last year with Pittsburgh. He survived multiple GMs in Pittsburgh. This is a guy that just gets the sport, understands not only the cap, understands how to scout now because of because of the last few years spent in Pittsburgh. He just understands the game. He has the former player side, and he also has the front office smart side because he went back and got his MBA from Michigan, which isn't that bad of a school.
I'm very impressed by, I guess, kind of all-encompassing when it comes to him. But kind of like what you were saying, that he understands winning. He just knows winning. He knows how to bring in people that know winning. And I think that's really a testament, and you really see that come out of the fact that obviously doing a lot with Scranton Wilkes-Barre. And a lot of times at the AHL level, you see the parent club and the AHL team maybe not be successful at the same time. But he's someone who knows how to get success regardless. And I know there was a question actually from Jenna Coxwell that I work with about winning in terms of the Rochester Amherst, in terms of the AHL level, when a lot of times in an organization that maybe is not the biggest deal because it's the parent club and their success. But he mentioned that, hey, Pittsburgh's in the playoffs, doing well in the playoffs. And Scranton Wilkes-Barre was good as well. Not all the talent being sucked out of there and then having one team be good and one team be bad, which you've seen a lot of time in the Rochester Amherst. And he's a guy that you can see he seemed a little flustered, but at the same time, it's not like Anthony Lynn when he had his presser last year at the end of the Bills regular season, where it was flustered to a high degree, where he's getting himself in trouble with what he's saying. It wasn't like that. He wasn't getting himself in trouble. He was still confident in what he was saying and stuff like that, even though maybe the presentation at times. But that's just him. Plus, he's got a head like an anvil. That guy's a tank. I guess trust him. I trust him.
Head like an anvil. That's a great line. He's got a big dome around him. I'm glad that your colleague Jenna asked the question about success in Rochester. I think the key point to that whole thing, and I think it was Leo Roth that mentioned it earlier, about having a general manager in place just for the Amherst.
Yes.
Tim Murray was both, and it did not work. He was not around. He was rarely at games. We knew when he was at games because
few and far between.
Members of the media were able to talk to him, and it was infrequent. It wasn't that many times. And if he was there, he was sitting in the suite next to us so you could see, oh, hey, there's Tim Murray, So there was a couple of knocks against Tim Murray. I was admittedly a Tim Murray guy. I liked him. I thought that he was aggressive enough. He was the opposite of what the Sabres had for many years in Darcy. So I like that about him. I don't know how opposite Botterill is. He just seems like the right guy. I noted here, and I said at the beginning, he just seems like a home run. This seems like he checks all the boxes that you would want. The biggest test for him right now is going to be head coach. That's going to be the biggest test. You got to get through the draft. You got to get through this expansion draft. But head coach is the key. And there aren't those marquee guys out, at least right now, on the market like there were 2 years ago with Mike Babcock and Dan Bylsma. you're going to have to put some work in and find some guys and figure out the pieces. He's got a lot of work to do. But I do like the hire. I trust this move. It seems like, again, and I was interacting with some people on Twitter yesterday, everyone seems to be very satisfied with the two hires. But I said this, and I'll continue to say this, you have to give it time. We won't know until some moves are made. And so some things are starting, some wheels are starting to get in motion. And we see the moves that they make. Hindsight's always 20/20. But like that Robin Leonard trade, I didn't like the Leonard trade at first. You let the wheels sort of turn and you give him an opportunity, and all of a sudden, yeah, as Matthew Collar mentioned on episode 10, he played outstanding for what his cap hit was. The only knock is what Tim Murray gave up for him. So that's
and
that.
He's going to have a more traditional situation in terms of getting that head coach. It's not like one of the first questions, maybe the first right off the top with Brandon Beane today is, this is definitely unorthodox. The draft's already over. You're in a weird time in terms of the scouting year because that was a big part of why Doug Whaley was canned when he was because of the time of the scouting year. So he has definitely a little bit more of a traditional backing in terms of timing and in terms of getting his next hex man. That sounds terrible. They don't need hexes. They got enough going on in that poor playoff ridden team, but words.
So the words indeed. Let's go on to the next words. Pens and Caps. Game 7 was Wednesday. We're obviously a few days behind this, but I wanted to mention it just because it was such a big game, and we talked with Matthew Collar about it. I was excited about it. It was 2 Game 7s in the same night between Edmonton and Anaheim, but the marquee game was Washington and Pittsburgh, and you had one team that went all in Washington, and the other team that was experienced but really injured in Pittsburgh, and the injured team came out in Game 7, and that just, again, it amazes me. I know Sid came back. I think Sid came back way too early. They didn't need him. When he came back in Game 5, they didn't need him then. They brought him back anyways. I'm flabbergasted by Washington. I continue to be baffled. How they could not win a Stanley Cup, how they could not get past the second round is amazing to me. They're going to blow that team up. Barry Trotz said afterwards, Barry Trotz wouldn't say after the game about Alexander Ovechkin's future with the team, but that expansion draft is coming up, and I truly believe that they're going to try to throw him out as trade bait and try to move the Great 8 before this next season rolls around.
It's just, well, it's like you said, it's flabbergasting. And this is the primetime series. This is what the NHL, which has issues in terms of viewership, and a lot of it's because of what they do, and especially when it comes to big games, when they're being played, or more so what channels they're on. And this was prime time. These are 2 Titans. It went to Game 7. And you mentioned it's a team that's a little beat up, but they still get through it. It's just, I think, the fact that they're able to get through it last year really, really helped them. And I guess the Permani Brothers video, I don't know if you saw it.
I did.
The Alex Ovechkin, where it's just they're White Russian without a cup, and they're just without a glass, and they're just, well, it would be a cup at the Stanley Cup, and they're just pouring ish all over the bar. That's just a mess.
I don't know that Ovechkin will ever win a cup. To me, it always seemed like a foregone conclusion that at some point he'll get one. I don't believe that anymore. You know, his failure to clear the puck on Pittsburgh's second goal, which in essence sealed the game. You know, that lazy sort of effort, the fact that he got moved down to the third line, we're all praising Barry Trotz for what he did for Game 6 by moving Ovechkin down to the third line, seemed to invigorate, the Great 8 for a little bit. And then in Game 7, I tweeted out, where is Ovechkin? He was just absent. He just seemed absent in the entire game. And this is the biggest moment of his career.
It's rough. It's rough stuff. It's because you thought that, at some point, it's the Capitals. You think over his career, and you've been mentioning a second ago, you thought that he would break through at some point.
Well, for what pieces they have there, especially for what the pieces that they have there now.
Because he's not a young blood.
No.
You think extrapolated over a good chunk of a career like he's had so far, that a guy that good could lead a team to going farther in the postseason.
All right, Matt Harvey returning to the mound today against the Brewers following his basically one-start suspension for what, breaking team rules? What's the official phrase people are using for this? I mean, acting like a clown is probably
Belvedere vodka. I think is Belvedere vodka. I think is the thing there. But suspensions for pitchers are weird. It's like 3-game suspension. That means 1 game for him essentially.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Matt Harvey's a guy that was the Dark Knight of Gotham, and I think had flashes is maybe the best way to describe him right now, because he struggled to put it together. He's had a couple of injuries. I believe he's had 2 Tommy Johns, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I mean he's dealt with his stuff. But Terry Collins was saying it in a press conference. This is a guy, if he has his mind on baseball, which might not be the case right now, the celebrity, I think, and being in that market is kind of got to him maybe just a tad at the moment. He could be the best pitcher in baseball. I'm not sure. That's a little bit, maybe a smidge of hyperbole from his manager, but he could definitely be one of the very top, one of the tip-top pitchers in baseball if he can really keep it going. This is somebody they need, Noah Syndergaard, who I think was even higher than him on that food chain recently. It's a guy that injury ended up being a little bit worse than people thought right when it happened. So that's a big blow to a team that's had a lot of postseason success over the past couple seasons when they've had kind of a lot of these guys come up at the same time, both in free agency and through the farm system. But it's really too bad. And he's got the Brewers, and a lot of times recently the Brewers are like, oh, that's a pushover. The Brewers this year got Eric Thames, one of the biggest stories in baseball. Travis Shaw over from the Boston Red Sox. He might be an all-star starter too. Who knows? A couple really good young catchers, Manny Pena and Jet Bandy. I don't know. That's not a good team you want to pitch against. They have so many good hitters on that team. To come back like that.
Throw him into the fire. What's the difference? Throw him into the fire. Put him in a place where he gets embarrassed so his head gets straight. Oh, I love that move. Throw him in the fire. Don't give him an easy game. You give him an easy game, he's thinking, well, yeah, I got this. What's the big deal with a suspension? Then the suspension does nothing for him.
Well, plus we were talking about a second ago, 3-game suspension is a 1-game suspension for a starting pitcher. So maybe not that much of a reality check. He might just be blowing it off. You know what will be more of a reality check? If he gets bopped. So that's a good point by you.
If he gives up 5 home runs in 4 innings worth of work, that would be, to me, that'd be the best thing for Matt Harvey's career at this point. It really would be. As you mentioned, this is a guy that, as Terry Collins said, his head might be elsewhere other than baseball. He loves the culture of New York. He loves the fashion. He loves to be able to dive into the lifestyle of Gotham. The best, maybe the better thing for Matt Harvey is for him to get traded to Milwaukee. No offense to Milwaukee, but it's not New York City. There's just not as much happening.
Dare you?
Listen, all I'm saying is it might be the best thing for the guy's career to be moved. To refocus himself. That's all.
Well, plus it'll be more beer there because he's doing a lot of hard stuff now in New York. So I think that would help with her.
All right. Well, maybe Milwaukee was a bad example, but
no, I'm saying he gets off the hard stuff a little bit if he goes to Beer City, USA.
This I found interesting as it pertains to the Mets. On the day that Harvey is returning, a report surfaces that Tim Tebow could be called up to their, I believe, single-A affiliate in St. Lucia, the St. Lucia Mets.
I don't understand the name.
Very conveniently floated out there. The Mets seem to be using Tim Tebow now as a smokescreen. Forget that Matt Harvey did all this bad stuff. Look, Tim Tebow will be bumped up to single-A ball. I thought he was in single-A ball.
There's a lot of different single-A's. There's like single-A short seeds. They got the New York Penn League up here with Batavia. I don't know if there's any teams by you.
There's too many. He's with the Fireflies now, wherever the heck they are. Listen, this is convenient timing for the Mets to do it on the. You know they floated this story out there. You know they did.
Try to take some of that fire off of Harv. It's ridiculous.
I see your PR move, Mets. Well played. Quickly, NBA Combine. Rochester product Thomas Bryant doing the combine. Tyler Lydon looked very impressive by a number of different measurables. Had a little more body fat to him than I think even he expected, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then I didn't see anything about Andrew White. Lydon was the guy that really stuck out to me. He shot the heck out of the ball from deep. I think he was the most efficient, or he had the highest percentage, maybe that's the same thing, of forwards from deep. So it looks like, by all accounts, Lydon killed it, and Bryant was maybe a little banged up from what I saw.
Yeah, he had a sore groin. So for the longest time, it was looked at as, I don't know if it was his agent or if it was him making the decision in terms of, he said he was not going to participate in the 5-on-5 scrimmages, which is a huge addition a couple years ago to the NBA draft combine, because obviously that shows so much more for all of the NBA guys, NBA front office guys, coaches, and the like that are there watching this. Sore groin, though, took him out. It was a weird day yesterday because it was announced he was actually on the rosters when that came out of left field early in the morning. Later in the morning, sore groin, ended up not being in it. But I think the lane agility stuff really helped him. I was a little bit worried about how he's going to measure out in terms of the drills and the lateral stuff. But he ended up being middle of the pack. I think he was 38. So he's 38 in terms of actually participating in it. So I don't know how many, 67 overall. I don't know how many people actually participated in the lane agility. And he ended up being 17 out of the first 38. So I don't know how, in terms of the entire event.
Has he signed with an agent?
Oh, yeah.
He did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that there was initial reports that he wasn't going to sign with an agent.
Oh, well, no, that was way early on.
Okay.
No, but
all right.
Well, a week or two ago, he did sign with an agent. It hasn't been released who his agent is yet, but yeah, he is definitely gone from Indiana.
Okay.
But yeah, and then Tyler Lydon was supposed to, and then all of a sudden the rosters came out yesterday morning, and he wasn't in the 5-on-5 scrimmages. So
really,
unfortunately, in terms of the local ties guys, we didn't get to see a lot of that in terms of the scrimmages. And Andrew White was, I think, an injury alternate, but never ended up actually getting invited into the field of 67 there. I guess you call it field of 67. I've got the field of 68 NCAA tournament on the mind. But yeah, Andrew White, he at least went to Chicago.
No, come on now.
Yeah, so Andrew White III was at least in Chicago. That's where all the agents are. That's where all the Chicago guys, obviously. But that's where all the coaches are, the NBA guys, other prospects that he can work out with. So he was there at University of Illinois, Chicago, working out. A lot more eyes there than wherever he would be, San Diego or wherever he is training for the most part for the NBA draft. But
all right, Manny,
not a bad place to be.
Yeah, let's go to the Spurs and the Rockets. The Rockets didn't even show up in my mind.
Well, it's huge. It's huge. The fact
that was Game 6, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I don't think it's over yet. Well, it's huge because
that series is done, right? That series is done. It was 4-2.
Oh yeah, so
that series is done. I think it was 4-2 that San Antonio won it. How do the Spurs, without Kawhi and without Tony Parker, just annihilate the Rockets?
Well, it's a massive, massive result because you don't have maybe the NBA MVP and you don't just win, but you thwomp them. I think a lot of it's Jonathan Simmons, who's just an unbelievable story. The way he's come up through the ranks in D-League and not being the biggest college name. And he's a kind of guy, he can hit from deep. So he's very similar to what Kawhi has become. Okay. He came to the league really being a role player, seemingly, in terms of defense, in terms of having massive, massive hands, and just being a pretty active athlete. But Jonathan Simmons, one of the best young, I think, spring kings in the NBA, mixed with someone who's really worked on his outside game. That's someone who was really able to fill the cracks yesterday, and I think that's one of the differences that happened yesterday.
All right, Maddie, coming up on the show this Sunday, episode 11 of To Be Determined. Jonah Javad, WGRZ Channel 2 in Buffalo, sports anchor reporter, going to join the boys here to talk a little hoops, talk a little association. We're down to 4. Right? We're down to 4 now?
What?
4 teams left in the NBA.
What are you talking about?
Are there 4 teams left in the NBA?
Oh, no, I know you're talking about it immediately. got the Spoys, got. No, we're still waiting. We're still waiting on Celtics and Wizards.
We're still waiting on Celtics and Wizards. I forgot about that. So we're not quite done with that, but we'll figure it out. We'll be hopefully down to 4 by the time Sunday rolls around, right? Because aren't they playing tonight?
They're playing Friday night, and that is tonight.
That is tonight. 'Tis the Friday show. So yeah, Jonah is kind enough to join us for a few minutes on a day he's working. We greatly appreciate that. Looking forward to talking some hoops.
Yeah.
It's always insightful, mainly for me, because as you just heard, I couldn't figure out whether Spurs and Rockets won 6 or 7 games.
And I knew a bunch about the Spurs-Rockets game last night, but I did not know that the series is over. So, hey, it could be worse for you.
We've ended this Friday show just spectacularly. Maddie, I will see you on Sunday.
Just a quick shout-out to Tyler Ralph from the Rochester area. He is one of the guys, or one of the guys he's working out for the NBA draft is Andrew White III, who we just talked about, who is Syracuse from where you are right now, who just went there, played there last year. So he's the dribbling extraordinaire. I don't think that's an old poster. I don't think Andrew White's on there. He's a graduate transfer. He's a little bit older, but not that old.
Still waiting for that poster to come in. All right, Maddie.